Hey guys, what's going on? So thank you for first off, thank you for clicking on this video and deciding to go down to this rabbit hole, this very long rabbit hole with me about Crystalmancer and my seething hatred for Crystalmancer. And this is something that has spawned for a number of reasons, and that I will all go into in this video, this very, very long video. I'm just starting this video, so I personally can't see the future on how long this is going to be, but I trust this is going to be a very, very long video because I want to break down my seething hatred for Crystalmancer and why I don't like the unit and why I always constantly advise people against the unit and why most of this spawned for people who join my live streams and they constantly want me to play Crystalmancer. They ask me my thoughts on Crystalmancer and they want me to suggest a Crystalmancer deck and how do you make Crystalmancer better and do I think that they should buff Crystalmancer? And a large quantity, not all, obviously, but a large quantity of every stream that I have gotten from when Crystalmancer came out, with talents, obviously, when Crystalmancer got talents, till now, I've been inundated with just constant Crystalmancer questions, and I've gotten to the point where I don't want to say I straight up get really angry on stream, but I'm just like, it's always very annoying. And to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make a video. I'm just going to make a video. Like, I've gotten this for so long. I'm just going to make a video and it's just going to be something that I can refer people to for all my thoughts on Crystalmancer and why I think you shouldn't use it and all of the things. And this is that video. So thank you for clicking on this. That is my background. And here's some more background. This is a video that I posted a very long time ago. This was when Crystalmancer then when it was announced that it was going to get talents, and when Night Statue was going to get talents, and then both of those, Momo Royale probably posted a video, and I screenshotted all the talents, and then I decided to talk about them in a video. And this video is essentially why I don't like making these kinds of videos anymore, which are speculation videos based on written word and like not being able to play it yourself with your own account, but watching a different person's account playing the unit and just making assumptions based on how it's doing in their at their level of play, and you will never know what it is actually like until you play it and until you have it with your own talents and the talents that you choose with your levels and your crit and your heroes and your everything, your units, and what you choose to pair with it. Because this, it was a video that I titled How to Underwhelm and Overwhelm on Talents. I'll give you a second to determine which you think is which. How to underwhelm and overwhelm on talents. If you haven't seen that video, this was me shitting on Night Statue for I would say a good 30 minutes of this video, because Night Statue was a unit that I was very excited for as a Blade Dancer player, and so when Night Statue was announced to get talents, and I read the talents and I watched the talents in action, I was very underwhelmed with what it did, because it looked like, on paper, like it did nothing. Like they took all of the things that it did and just gave it back to you in talents that you had to earn. And that's how I looked at it. If you want, you can watch the entire 50-minute video of it, of me just shitting for, 30-ish minutes, on Night Statue, and how I think it's terrible and nobody will use it, and hopefully everybody will complain about it, and then they'll revamp the talents and they'll change the entire everything, because everything is terrible and nobody will use this unit. And the overwhelm on talents is how I love Crystalmancer and how I think that this fixes everything that Crystalmancer ever did. If you want to hear me gushing about Crystalmancer because you love Crystalmancer and you think it's the greatest unit, go watch this video. This video is like 20 minutes of me thinking that Crystalmancer is going to change the universe and it's going to be the best thing ever and it's so amazing and it fixes every single one of its problems and this is going to be the best epic unit hero or best epic unit and max this out right now and it's going to beat every legendary and it's going to become the next best thing and this is so great, right? And that's how to overwhelm on time. It just has so many things going for it. It's so great and it's so beautiful and it's so amazing and this is going to change the game and the meta is going to just get shaken up and they're going to have to nerf other things so that, you know, because this is just so good that they're going to just nerf it to the ground because it's amazing and it's going to be the best. And if you want to see that version of me, just watch this video. I made that video, what was it, 10 months ago? And in those 10 months, I've gotten to play Crystalmancer, and it's not good. It's not good. There are a lot of inherent problems with Crystalmancer, and as much as I think that it's a very good epic unit, there is a big part of me that feels like you shouldn't be playing or concentrating as hard as you are with epic units. If you are at a point in your game where Crystalmancer is the best card in the game for you, where it is like your favorite thing to use, it's so good. One of the main things that it has is the 15 talent. The 15 talent was one of the things that I was the most excited for. A self-level up mechanic is so good for a card. Just an automatic, it has a 65% chance. A 65% chance is insane. Like, they could have given this like some low, like minuscule 15% chance every time you kill a boss kind of chance. They gave it a 65% chance. More often than not, this is going to happen. And the fact that if you are running a High Arcanist, the High Arcanist will be the one that levels up, as opposed to any other because they could have made it a random Crystalmancer. And so the fact that it's always targeting the best versions of your Crystalmancers, whether you're running Crystal Arcanist or High Arcanist, it's a great ability. And it's one of the main reasons why you would run the card. If you have a level 15 Crystalmancer, I would have to believe that you probably have decently leveled legendaries as well. And I would always recommend people concentrate on their legendaries as opposed to trying to make Crystalmancer good. My main problem with Crystalmancer stems from the fact that there are two separate sides of Crystalmancer. And there is not a single person in 10 months that have told me, oh my god, Crystalmancer is so good because Crystal Arcanist is the best. There is not one. I get flooded with Crystalmancer questions all the time. There is not one person that has ever stated, I play Crystalmancer because of Crystal Arcanist. Every single person, every single time you see it in PvP, every single person plays High Arcanist. In the same way that every single person that plays Genie plays a Freet. Wherever my Genie is. I just want the visual. I don't need the visual, but I just kind of want the visual. And now it's kind of bothering me that I can't find it. Genie. Whenever you see anybody play Genie, they're always playing a Freet. I don't even know what Sultanate does. There's nobody that plays Sultanate. Inevitably, like now that somebody has heard that, I can already hear the bell going off in your head. I see people play Sultanate. Everybody I play against plays Sultanate. I play Sultanate. What are you talking about? I'm just saying that in my experience and at high level, nobody plays Sultanate. Everybody plays a Freet. I trust there is somebody out there that plays Sultanate. But 99% of the people, if you had to put them all into a jar and collate all of that data, 99% of the people play a Freet. And I'll leave that 1% to say that, yes, there is a percentage of people that play Sultanate, but 99% of the people who play Genie as a serious card that are not trying to build, you know, the one unit co-op Genie deck, right? They're playing Efreet. 99% of people, whenever they're talking about Crystalmancer, they always play High Arcanist. And I have a inherent problem with how High Arcanist works. Everybody doesn't care that, because whenever you see High Arcanist, people want me to play it because they want to see the damage numbers that I can do. And Godlike Mike, if you want to see like high damage, High Arcanist numbers that are possible, Godlike Mike has them. Momo Royale has them, right? Just jokey versions of a co-op game where they're like specifically getting shamaned and slowing the field down so you can build crystal stacks. And yeah, you can get really high damage numbers. But that's not potentially possible in a regular PvP game. Certainly not at a level where people are playing Crystalmancer because it is the best card that they have. Somebody who has a level 15 Crystalmancer and is playing Crystalmancer because it is the best card they have, they don't have a level 15 Scrapper and a level 15 Witch and a level 15 Dryad and a level 15, you know, they don't have a level 15 Enchant Sword. They don't have all of these as well. They're playing Crystalmancer because that is the best DPS card that they have, and they don't have anything else. They have like level 9 Blade Dancer. They have a level 9 Inquisitor, right? And I would still suggest to that person, play the level 9 Blade Dancer. Play the level 9 Inquisitor. Because those are the cards that you're going to use for the rest of your game. This game has the ability to be broken down into 3 separate areas. The first area is everything in Arena. Everything in Arena. That's like your beginner intro to this game. Once you get out of Arena, the milestone that you want to hit is 5225. Once you can easily hit 5225, you basically transition into the next portion of the game. 5225 and below are people that think that Crystalmancer is the best unit in this game, or at the very least, the best unit that they have in their deck. When you get beyond 5225 and you're trying to push beyond that to, let's say, the next big milestone, which is 6225, because I trust that you can go from 5225 to maybe like 5920. Maybe you can get into 6000 with a Crystalmancer. Maybe. I don't know. But the big milestone that you're trying to hit after 5225 is 6225. After 6225, the big milestone that you're trying to hit, which I'm trying to hit and I can't, is 6920. And I can't even do it consistently. That gap, you're not going to be able to use a Crystalmancer up here. I trust that you understand that, but just in case you don't, you're not going to be able to continue using Crystalmancer to take you to 6920, because you have to then transition into the second phase of this game. And the second phase of this game is I do not have a Necromancer and I don't have a Zeus. The first phase of this game is I think that Crystalmancer is the best unit. The second phase of this game, trying to get to 6920, trying to get to 6225. That phase of the PvP game is I don't have Necromancer and I don't have Zeus. Because the only thing that is going to push you to where getting 6920 is not difficult is having a level 20 Zeus. At which point, then you're in the end game phase of this game, which is all of this. You're able to get champion medals so that you can get get better versions of your heroic items. If you don't even know what heroic items are, you have to get heroic tokens from the shop, from the Hero Tavern, which are basically only completable if you spend about $300 every month. And that is only for about 20-ish heroic medals, and you need 50 heroic medals to get a chance or to get one pull of a heroic item, hopefully something that you need, and hopefully not Trickster and Bestie. I think those are the two items that I have. No, Trickster and Elemental. I have Trickster and Elemental. I've been playing this game since 2021. I have Trickster and Elemental. I've spent almost no investment into Hero Tavern. That's the only way you can get it. I've been playing this since 2021, and I have 2 heroic items, and it's Elementalist and Trickster. I just got the Trickster one, and I currently have 10. I currently have 10 heroic items. I am not even close to saying that 6920 is easy. But in order for you as a player to transition from thinking that Crystalmancer is the best unit to the next portion of the game is starting to use legendary units. Because Crystalmancer, while it can beat early game legendary units, and maybe you'll beat somebody, for the most part, you're not going to beat legendary units. And I see that the reasoning that people have with, oh, I'm going to use Crystalmancer because it beats legendary units. You can also beat legendary units with legendary units. That's just a strange way of thinking. Because then if you think like that, then you could say like, oh, well, if I run a shaman deck, I can beat legendary decks. Like, I can just cheese my way into, higher trophies. And then at a certain point, when people start getting, level 6 Mermaid, they start running Blooming Dash Blade Dancer. You start going up against Blooming Dash Blade Dancer decks. You start going up against like Inquisitor with a shield, right? Now that they've nerfed Shaman and they've nerfed all of the Toxic, they've nerfed Pocket Curse. Now that they've nerfed all of the Toxic, yeah, you can cheese your way into beating legendary decks for a while. But at a certain point, you're going to hit this ridiculous wall that it just doesn't work anymore. And I feel that same way about Crystalmancer. There is a point that you can push it, and then it just stops working because it's not good. And I feel like people are okay with getting to that point where it stops working. But I also do feel like people don't want to look at the rest of their legendaries. They don't want to look at their like level 8 Blade Dancer or their level 9 Cultist. And they just want to play their level 13 Crystalmancer. And here's my inherent problem with High Arcanist. High Arcanist has a 3-second pause. Like I said, that most people look at High Arcanist and they look at the big damage number, right? The large, big, huge, giant damage number. Because you're building all of the Crystal Arcanists onto the field, and then you get your High Arcanist, and it has like 1,000 stacks, and it's doing 100,000 damage, right? When it blasts. If that blast doesn't kill the boss, you die. If you hit a single, if a Bedlam comes out, just a Bedlam by itself. Let's just go with that example. Let's just say a Bedlam comes out and you do that initial blast and it doesn't do anything, then you die. There's no backup. If they get a Warlock and your unit gets Warlocked, because you're running a single unit deck, you die. Sure, it could affect any of the other things on your board. You can fill up your board. You can mitigate that percentage chance that it hits your Crystalmancer. But if it does, you die. There are so many reasons to dislike PvP. To think that PvP is unfair. They have better units than you. They have higher crit than you. They have the trophy is they have more trophies than you, right? You could say that the luck that you had while playing the game was unlucky. Now, if you take all of those problems and you compile that with all of the bosses that High Arcanist hates, Dark Priest, Warlock, Monkey King, Bedlam, right? Most of these problems are affected by other people, right? Other decks hate these bosses as well. I'm not trying to say that, you know, the Hyrcanus specifically dislikes these bosses, but it dislikes more of these bosses. Also because you probably don't have a cleanse mechanic. If it gets Dark Priested, you don't have a way of cleansing it quick enough because you still have to kill something. And if it gets Dark Priested and you can't kill anything, even if you have a counterspell, you can't cleanse it. Crystalmancer doesn't have a self-cleanse mechanic. It doesn't have a shield. You could run a mermaid, but that's also random. So if you have a large quantity of things on your field, in order for it to not get Dark Priested, and it gets Dark Priested anyway, and you try to mermaid your way to victory by cleansing it with a level 5 mermaid, you have too many things on the field now, and now it's probably not going to hit your Hyrcanist. I would argue that if Dark Inquisitor didn't have a talent for the shield, nobody would use it. If Knight of Darkness if you were forced to use Purification and the other talent was something else, like every time you kill 10 units, your Dark Inquisitor gets faster. Your Inquisitors attack faster. If that was a talent that you had to choose, and it didn't have a shield, and it didn't have a recharging shield, nobody would use this unit. It would be too risky. Running a 1-unit strategy is already risky enough. Running a 1-unit strategy without a permanent shield is insanity. You have people that are playing Dark Inquisitor decks complaining about getting double Dark Priested. Like that the 2 hits of Dark Priest hit it twice. And that has the ability to happen as well. So you could have a shield, you could do all the correct things, and it could still not work. Crystalmancer and the Hyrcanist, the idea that it doesn't attack for 3 seconds is its biggest downfall. And you as a player do not have a backup plan. If it doesn't kill the boss, that not killing the boss, it just starts to compile. What do I mean by that? I'll give you my go-to example for why I hate Crystalmancer, and it's King Pudding into Bedlam. If you go through my shorts on my YouTube channel, you'll see that I have a lot of these videos. Or I'm sorry, I have a video, and it's Stop Playing Crystalmancer, and it's a video where I got King Pudding into Bedlam. Even if when you get to this is double bosses. This is not even talking about triple bosses because obviously this problem just gets worse in triple bosses. King Pudding into Bedlam. If you kill the King Pudding, this is assuming you can one blast the King Pudding. You one blast the King Pudding and it explodes into all of the separate jellies, right? At which point now you need to wait 3 seconds. And at that point, now the Bedlam is out. So you kill all of the jellies, and the Bedlam auto hits you. This is assuming that it doesn't take 2 blasts to kill the King Pudding. Because if it takes 2 blasts to kill the King Pudding, it almost doesn't even matter what that second boss is. That second boss is probably going to kill you. And that is the problem with this card. Having to wait 3 seconds for it to do the blast again is insane downside. Against any boss. Almost against any boss. If it takes you 3 hits, if it starts taking you 3 hits to take down a Tamer, the Tamer will spawn in enough things to kill you. It'll have enough time to spawn in enough things to kill you. What's funny about my entire reasoning for my seething hatred for Crystalmancer, it all stems from the idea that everybody plays High Arcanist and nobody even tries Crystal Arcanist. I think Crystal Arcanist is a much better card. I think it has better potential I think it has better protection against bosses, because if you get Warlocked or Dark Priested, if one of them gets Warlocked or Dark Priested, you have 3 more. If 2 of them get Warlock or Dark Priested, you have 2 more. Having more units on the field is better. It's just generically better. Unless you're Dark Inquisitor and you have an infinite shield. Crystalmancer does not have an infinite shield. It doesn't even have a shield. And yeah, you could run Mermaid. And yeah, you could be like cute with like the merges next to a bubbled unit so that the bubble transfers. Yeah, you could potentially do that. But I feel like the best usage of a Crystalmancer deck is Crystal Arcanist. I feel like it's this deck. It's just Crystalmancer, Crystal Arcanist, Crystal Connection, Magma Flow. Magma Flow is something that like pro people are attempting to try. Having a unit that auto upgrades itself with Absorb Energy, and then having the defense reduction of Magma Flow, it's kind of okay. I don't think it's great, but it's kind of okay. It's something. The problem with Crystal Arcanist is that you need to attack fast, because that is its main source of damage. It's basically a Dark Inquisitor. It's an Inquisitor. You have to attack. The more you attack the same target, the higher the damage gets over time. And you can mitigate that with Night Statue. You do the diagonal on Sharpened Spear Night Statues, and then you use underneath the 2 that are in the corners. Underneath them, you just put a Witch on both sides. If you don't have a Witch, you could use a Trapper. You can use a Chemist. You can use a Sharpshooter. There are a lot of things that you can use. I feel like if you built this deck and you asked like how to make this better or how to do this, I think it could work. I think if you had like, you know, a high level Crystalmancer, if you had like a level, you know, 9 so that you can have the Sharpened Spear, Night Statue, I think it would be okay. I think it would be like, you know, it feels like a deck. It feels like a reasonable deck. But trying to run this as High Arcanist and then just straight up dying to bosses because they're bosses, it doesn't seem great. Like just dying because, oh, I guess I can't do enough damage, that doesn't seem like a great reason to die. Or like, oh, I couldn't do enough damage and so I got Tamer and Tamer killed me because I couldn't do enough damage to a singular Tamer boss. Right? I'm not even talking about like getting Bedlam. Like any deck dies to Bedlam, right? But I think your chances of damage and safety are better used in a Crystal Arcanist deck. I think there are too many inherent problems with the High Arcanist for me to even suggest that it's even kind of okay. I get that people use it. I get why they use it. And I get why they think that it's good. Because when you compare it to other units at that level, that blast that's happening is it looks very appealing and it looks very strong. But it's kind of like applying for a job with a sign-on bonus. Jobs try to attract you with a giant sign-on bonus. Like, we're going to give you $500 if we accept you as a sign-on bonus to take on this job. But your hourly is going to be $6.50 an hour. And so you think to yourself, oh my God, all I need to do is just get the job and I'll get $500, right? But your sign-on bonus is you have to stay with the company for a year and you're getting $6.50 hourly. And so you're essentially taking less money because you get a lot of money in one lump sum and it's supposed to hold you over. And I feel like that's how people look at the blast on High Arcanist. Like, it's so great until it's just not. And there's no way to upgrade that. There's no way to make the deck safer. at a certain point, you will just die to a tamer. You'll die to dumb bosses that you shouldn't even die to. If it takes you 4 hits to kill a tamer, and you have to keep waiting that 3 seconds, and it takes you like 4 blasts to kill a tamer could kill you. Bosses that normally can't kill Dex will kill you. I was going to do gameplay, but I have talked for so long that I feel like I don't even need to. You know what's funny is I know that there are so many people out there that love Crystalmancer. Again, because since 10 months ago till now, every time I do a live stream, somebody inevitably says, play Crystalmancer. I know that there are a large quantity of people out there that love Crystalmancer. And I get it. I understand why you love it. And my reasoning for telling people to stop playing Crystalmancer is not me trying to say, you know, like I'm trying to tell you what to do. Like you love this unit and I want you to hate it. It's not so much of that as it is, I want you to progress in this game. I want you to realize that you are in the beginner portion of this game. And if you want me to make a comparison, if you love Crystalmancer, this will only make sense if you love Crystalmancer. It would be like if somebody decided to come up to you and say, I love Fire Mage. You know, what's the Fire Mage deck? What's the best use? How is it best to use Fire Mage? How do I use Fire Mage better? And you told them you shouldn't use Fire Mage, use Crystalmancer. And they were like, oh no, I don't have a high level Crystalmancer. I just want to use Fire Mage. I'm going to get this to level 15. And how do I make the deck better? Do I use Night Statue with it? Do I use Night Statue? Do I use Covenant of Veteran Night Statue with the Scrapper? And then I do double Night Statue stacks when I have the Fire Mage around it. And should I use Chemist or Trapper, or maybe or should I use both? Should I level up my Witch so that I can use Gift of the Raven and get more stacks on it so that my Fire Mage gets better when I used it with the Night Statue? Do you think like Gadget is like a really good unit for Fire Mage, or should I be using J so that I get better attack speed, even though I have the attack speed with the Night Statue? But if I have it next to a Night Statue on a J tile, then it would have a faster attack, and then I could use the Gift of the Raven next to it. And get stacks like that to get the damage even more. And I should probably use growth tile, right? I should use the Amulet of Growth, so that it, because Fire Mage doesn't have really good damage, but if I use Amulet of Growth, it'll increase the damage. And then if I use Chemist and Trapper, I can do defense reduction, and then I should probably have counter spells on my Amulet of Growth, just in case my Fire Mage, this is how you sound. I want you to know that this is how you sound. And I'm just like, no, just use something else. Just use something better. Just use something better and your game will go further. Like, stop trying to make this card good. Just use something else. And some people are just so stuck on thinking that Crystalmancer is the only card. And and there are people in my chat that understand the joke, and they will say like, Crystalmancer is the best card, and they understand that it's not a good card. They know that it just like it gets to me that when people say it, that they are in on my joke. But then there are people who actually love Crystalmancer, like it is the best card, and they do not want to move past it. And I'm telling you that if you move past it, and if you start using any other legendary card, and if you take that's my one thing about Crystalmancer coming into the game, that it made people think like this. I do appreciate Crystalmancer for making people think like this. People decided to use Crystalmancer, and they would ask questions like this. And as much as it is annoying, and as much as ridiculous as it is, I'm glad that they started asking the question. I'm glad that they started looking at a Crystalmancer deck and trying to make it better. Because that gives you the skills of, like how to build decks. And anything that helps you gain the skill to build a deck, I appreciate. I just wish that more people would realize that even if it is good right now, it is not good forever. As much as I could tell somebody in Arena 6, right? Somebody like that just started the game. Was Arena 6 correct? Do you not get it until after? When do you get Engineer? No, yeah, Arena 2. Yeah, like somebody in like Arena 5, Arena 6. What deck should I build? I really like an Engineer deck. I think that Engineer is really good. Because you normally have ways to, you don't have like a Dryad or a Scrapper. You don't have access to that. Even if you pull legendaries, you don't, like that. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. And I think that of all the cards, Engineer has the potential to grow in damage because you have other Engineers. Sharpshooters, they get better, like they get more attack, but they don't grow in the sense that when you chain Engineers together, they grow in damage while also growing in merge rank and growing in damage that way. So you're utilizing two separate ways of growing in damage. And I think the damage potential for a Engineer type deck is much better than most cards in this early game. I can suggest that with the knowledge that I don't think Engineer is a good unit at max level. And I would not recommend you maxing it out unless you have unless you're a content creator and you just want to have everything maxed because you can, because you will get all of the cores back. But you would never say to somebody, that's using an Engineer deck, use Engineer and get Gadget, because then you can get tiles on everything, and use Scrapper with it, because then it would be so good, and use a Trapper, and use a Chemist, right? Because then you have to do defense reduction, and it has its own level up mechanic, so that's already amazing. So then you can have like a full field of, you'd just be like, no, don't stop using that, but if you like that playstyle, use Monk. Monk is kind of the same thing. Like, just use Monk. When you get Monk, you'll love that card. You can use an Engineer deck with the knowledge that it's not good and it's just good right now, and I'm eventually going to use Monk. I just need to build it up. And I think if people thought like that, I don't think Crystalmancer would bother me. But it's the idea that people are unwilling to look, to even glance at their other legendary cards and try to build decks around that. Because they don't know how to. And there's so many people in that range of trophies, and there's so many people that they play against that play Crystalmancer decks. And so they're just like, oh, well, I just got beat by this Crystalmancer deck. I'm just going to play that. Oh, I just got beat by this Crystalmancer deck. That must be the best deck. I'm just going to play that. If you want to play Crystalmancer, you can. If by the end of this video, if you want to play Crystalmancer, you can. But just understand that the majority of this game that you will play, assuming that you even stay for the majority of this game, the 90% of this game that you will be in, the 90% portion of this game that you will just be stuck in, because the portion beyond me is I have a Necromancer and a Zeus, and I can do 100 billion damage. And I am not even close to there. If you want to play Crystalmancer like it's the best thing, and you want to continuously try to make Crystalmancer better, like it's the best thing and the only thing in this game, and you don't want to upgrade your legendaries, and you don't want to take time into using legendary decks, and you don't want to upgrade your DPS, your legendary DPS cards, and you think that Crystalmancer is good enough, and, that's the best card, and it's the only thing that you need, you can do that. But just know that you will never transition into the better part of this game. You will constantly stay a beginner. Because the difference between a beginner and an intermediate player is understanding that Crystalmancer is bad. And that it's not going to carry you into the better part of this game, into the bigger part of this game. Simply because it's an epic. And because they have specifically tried to nerf things that shouldn't exist in bigger things. And that is a design choice. Event units are currently the best part, the most impressive units in this game. Whether you're looking at Bard, Spirit Master, Genie, Riding Hood, those are the best cards in this game. Everything that has tried to be a meta card that is not an event unit, they have nerfed. Toxic cards that could push into the meta because they're playing a different kind of game have been nerfed. Corsair, percentage damage decks have been nerfed. Everything that is not an event unit is not going to be the best unit in this game. All event units are going to beat non-event units. There was a Sharpshooter J deck that was doing legendary deck numbers. And they nerfed both Sharpshooter and J. Chemist is a rare card that only does one thing. And when Scrapper came out, they nerfed Chemist. They want every card to feel like it should be where it's at. And as an epic card, as much as you want to push Crystalmancer to be a legendary card and to beat legendary decks, you're just simply not going to. And if it ever gets to a point where they add a card that makes Crystalmancer better, they're gonna nerf Crystalmancer again to make it be an epic card. You can play Crystalmancer if you want. But just know that in order to transition into the bigger portion of this game, the portion of this game that you will spend 90% of your time in, unless you choose to spend thousands of dollars on Zeus or Necromancer, unless you choose to believe and understand that Crystalmancer is not going to carry you for the entirety of the game, you will never transition into that portion of the game.